Okay, stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Read the land acknowledgement.
As a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meeting by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people. Please join us in finding ways to support Indigenous communities and see our suggested links on the website.
Adjustments to this agenda. We're going to remove an announcement from our county legislator. She won't be available this evening. And we're also adding, I'll just make the announcement now, save the date for the 4th annual holiday hoopla that will take place Saturday, December 9th from noon to 5 in Hasbrook Park, sponsored by New Paltz Community Wellness. Consent agenda, adding number 9, authorization for the mayor to sign a license agreement with Central Hudson for the new pole on Huguenot Street. And that's it as far as changes to this agenda. I move that we accept the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any announcements from board members?
Announcement. So the family of New Paltz is always looking for donations. Money donations are always needed, especially to help folks in our community pay bills. And so if anybody has the means to donate some funds to family of New Paltz, you can go during open hours. Also, the turkey trot is on, and you can register for that now. And that's a great way for family to raise funds every year. So even if you are not a runner or don't run, you can donate, or you can walk it, or whatever you want to do that's on Thanksgiving morning, but registration is open now.
Okay, I was going to make a couple of announcements. We're going to change our 2nd November meeting from the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We're going to move that to November 29th. And separately, the village offices will be closed this Friday, the 10th, in observance of Veterans Day. Any other announcements from the planning board?
Yeah, I'll do a couple that Alex usually does. The free food fridge here at 25 Plattekill Avenue is open every day, all day. If anybody's hungry or wants to donate some food, please come and do your part. The Never Use Alone hotline is 1-800-484-3731. And that's what I got.
Okay, so we have a public hearing that has already been opened. So in case anyone wants to make a public comment, I just want to hit pause for one moment in case there is anyone here interested in making a public comment on any other topic, or do we have any other public comments that are not related to the proposed unreasonable rent increase law? About something
This
not,
is just a public
okay.
comment about something else. I
Right.
noticed
Here,
someone.
come sit at the table so you pick up your audio.
I noticed someone walking to the free food shed, and there was no light out there. And then the only thing he could use to see what was inside there was the cell phone. So they motion detector light, on and off with the daylight would be a wonderful thing to put in there for that. So there's power there because they obviously run the refrigerator.
Yeah.
They
So-
are getting ready to do some upgrades, so I'll make it.
Yeah, lights are cheap.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah.
Any other general public comments?
Thanks.
Come sit at the table and state your name, yeah. Just so it's probably better as far as picking up the audio.
Sure. My name's Andrew Hiller. I organize in New Paltz with Mid-Hudson Valley DSA Housing Working Group. I wanted to talk about Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which I saw on the agenda before but don't see now. But at any rate, I know there's a vacancy study underway at the moment that you guys will soon be considering opting into the Emergency Protection Act. I'm speaking tonight just to ask the board to act quickly to complete the vacancy study and declare a housing emergency. Over the past decade, as I'm sure you know, rents have skyrocketed, increasing way faster than the rate of inflation or wages. New Paltz tenants desperately need the ETPA protections to protect them from eviction, displacement, and it's the best way to keep New Paltz affordable for working class people. Evictions and displacement harm working class people. They destabilize communities and they make them less diverse. Public colleges like New Paltz are a critical resource for working class students from across the state, but students won't be able to access it if they can't afford to live here. Rent controls aren't a permanent solution. I know that. We need much more housing. We need the resources at the state level if we're going to be able to build it affordably. That's a fight that the groups I work with are involved in. But we need to protect people right now from displacement and eviction in New Paltz, or this community will look very different very quickly. So thanks so much.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other public comments in general? Just want to state your name.
Hello, Village Board and Mayor Rogers. My name is Daniel Atona. I live in the city of Poughkeepsie, but I went to SUNY New Paltz and I organize here with For the Many. This year, the City of Kingston Rent Guidelines Board approved a rent freeze for 1,200 apartments covered by the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, or ETPA. This was a historic achievement made possible by the organizing of For the Many, Mid-Hudson Valley DSA, and the Stony Run Tenants Union. New Paltz has an opportunity to have a rent guidelines board as well. If the village's ongoing vacancy study finds a vacancy rate below 5% in buildings with 6 or more units built before 1974, then the council can take a vote to opt in to ETPA. This will lead to the creation of a rent guidelines board that will regulate rents in those large old buildings. The board will have landlord members and tenant members and take input from the community at public hearings before voting to set the rents in those select buildings. This is nothing to be scared of. Literally dozens of municipalities downstate have done this without issue. The New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal, or DHCR, is responsible for administering ETPA and will help the village through the process. For the Many is also in touch with housing experts who can help you with the legal work. Please do not pass up this exciting opportunity. Tenants throughout New Paltz will benefit from this. We have a group of students here in the audience who would definitely benefit from rent stabilization. The final thing I will say is just to make an ask that the village complete the housing vacancy study as quickly as possible and release the results so we can find out if New Paltz is ETPA eligible and then begin the rest of the process. Thank you.
Any other general comments? Okay. So we have a public hearing open related to a law that we have proposed. It's called unreasonable rent increase. Do we have any folks who would like to make a public comment about this proposed law?
Hi, Andrew Hiller again, Mid-Hudson Valley DSA. I'll make this quick because it's a lot of the same message that you just heard from me. But obviously, I feel strongly that Emergency Tenant Protection Act is critical. But unfortunately, as you all know, I'm sure it will only cover buildings with 6 units or more built before 1974. That represents, a fraction of the housing in the village of New Paltz. I work with coalition that's fighting very hard across the state to pass good cause eviction protections at the state level. Unfortunately, the governor has been resistant there. But it's absolutely essential that tenants have the right to remain in their home and to have a safe, secure home and to know that their rent will continue to be affordable in perpetuity. So it's really critical that we pass this bill until we can have the protections at the state level that we need, like good cause. Thanks.
Any other comments regarding this proposed legislation?
Hello again, my name is still Daniel Latona. And I'm here to speak in support of the draft local law regulating unreasonable rent increases. Like I said, I organize here in New Paltz, knocking on doors, talking to people. And people are smart, right? They understand that there are different levels of government, they have different levels of funding, different powers. So they don't expect the village board to like save the whole world, and cancel all their rent and, do all those things. But they do expect you to try and do what you can within your powers, right? And that's why I'm calling on you to please pass this local law. And I kind of view this as a stopgap, right? And on the state level, we're working with people in New Paltz, people in Kingston, voters from all over, taking them up to Albany and fighting for good cause eviction, which we think is like a real big solution that will really help with this problem. But until we can like build that statewide movement to pass good cause eviction, we're just asking you that you pass this little version of a bill here in New Paltz to at least provide some level of protection until we can pass something on the state level. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna suggest to our board that we keep our public hearing open regarding this proposal. I don't think we need to vote on it, just take no action. Okay, we can move on into the rest of our agenda. I move that we adopt the consent agenda. All in favor? And then moving on to the business agenda is Maria Bella from Millions of Butterflies. She's here?
Hi, I'm on the Zoom.
Hey, how are you?
I assume I'm on this big whiteboard. I'm okay. Sorry I can't be in person today. Yesterday I tested positive for COVID, which boo. But I wanted to give an update on how the fridge is going and what our plans are for the future. We have been up and running for about 2 years now, which is huge. It's really exciting that, we get to provide this service to the town and that it's literally right outside our doors and is super accessible to everybody. Stana, I wasn't able to make it to the very first minutes of the Zoom, but Stana let me know that there was a public comment that we should have a light outside, like a sensor light, so that when people are coming up, they can see, which I agree. We're also looking to make volunteering more accessible. Right now, the way that we store our cleaning supplies, they are pretty consistently getting taken, even when we write, please do not take. By installing a smaller storage shed on the outside of the shed right next to the Narcan supply. We believe that this will make volunteering more accessible because folks right now, some of them don't have the time or the money to go get cleaning supplies to bring to the fridge, even though we do reimburse them. And overall, we're looking to have a self-care day for the fridge. It has received some definite love and a little damage on top of it. One of the light bulbs, the string is missing and the cork board is all loosey goosey. Our like dry erase marker board keeps going missing. Not the board itself, but like the markers. We can't keep a can opener there consistently. Someone decided to write in crayon all over our paint. They're just like little things. We recently got a donation of some vinyl flooring because right now it's unfinished plywood. So whenever someone drops something or stains the floor, it just soaks right into that unfinished wood and ends up being kind of gross. So we're looking to have a self-care day sometime in the end of November. I was wondering if there were any dates that the village was like, absolutely not, we cannot have anything go on, to like, if there was an event or something, where we just couldn't, where it was like inefficient for everyone if we were there gathered and working on stuff. I believe it would only take a day or two to get all of the repairs and such done.
Are you
And I
looking to do a weekday or a weekend?
A weekday, preferably.
Okay. I bet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be easy.
Yeah. Sometime after Thanksgiving, especially now since I'm positive for COVID. But yeah, that would be ideal. If there was preferably like the 27th and the 28th, I think. If that worked for you guys.
27th looks pretty wide open the Monday.
Okay. That's good to know. Sweet. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to share a plan for the future. Right now, the fridge, we just got some pictures from a volunteer. It sits pretty empty and can sit pretty empty pretty consistently. And along with making volunteering more accessible, we're looking to create a little nest egg so that in the coming spring season, not fall, spring season, spring, summer season, when CSA shares start coming back, from the farms, from our local farms. We're looking to purchase some and have a little nest egg of gas money for volunteers so that we can have people driving back and forth so that we can get more fresh produce in the fridge and also support our local farmers. We're also looking to raffle off some CSA shares to families so that they not only have the fridge as an option, but they can get fresh local produce directly from farms. That way, when you come to the fridge, like, because when you come to the fridge, you don't always know it's there, even though we try and post on Instagram and keep it pretty consistent. When we do post, people see it and we can't guarantee that even like 15 to 30 minutes later that food is still going to be there. And then folks will show up expecting there to be something and there isn't. And there are lots of families, not even just families, but individuals who are becoming increasingly food insecure, that would benefit. So yeah, our plans are just to kind of try and keep it stocked with more food, have more volunteers more consistently, try and keep it as clean as possible. We're looking to find a local cleaning team, that wouldn't mind volunteering and donating a few hours, to make sure that we are consistently incredibly clean. We have a bunch of really wonderful volunteers who help us out multiple times a week to make sure that things are as clean as possible, but sometimes getting a professional in there is just so incredibly helpful, to make sure that stuff is as clean as possible. I was wondering if anyone had any comments, suggestions, anything that they wanted to share about the fridge, anything that we could do. I know that someone in our little email chain said to include instructions and guidelines in Spanish, which I totally agree. I cannot believe that we don't have them already. But stuff like that, if anyone has anything.
Yeah, Maria Bella, this is Bill. Yeah, I made that suggestions. I was thinking also in the exterior sort of thing that says comidas gratis or something along those lines so that people who don't speak English know what that is. Because right now there's no clue what that blue building is for some people. And the other thing is the storage closet. Is that what you're set on that you showed us, the sort of the vinyl 5-foot tall storage closet? Is that still in your plan?
Yeah, that is still our plan.
Yeah. Are you attaching it to the structure?
Yeah, we would just screw it in. We would put it right in through the posts.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Bill, thanks for continuing to work hard to smooth out any rough edges, but I just wanted to thank you and commend you for making this thing work. I'm here every day, and without even trying, I notice people using the fridge to source food, and I notice people who come by on a regular basis to restock the fridge. So it's really a pretty heartening operation. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Feel better.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try. Have a good night, guys.
See ya. Okay, so on this business agenda, we have parking discussion. Do we want to,
I haven't put that on the agenda. Just one thing I wanted to mention. Could we put on our website the privacy statement that the parking app provides, because it's really kind of concise and clear, and people have asked me about, they were concerned about, the privacy, what they're giving up, and they download this
Right.
app and all the tracking, and there's lots of options you can take in terms of securing your privacy. I'm just wondering if in our communication of what that app is and what it does, that we include the privacy statement, make that readily available.
the easy thing to add?
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I can share that I touched base with our treasurer today because they're on the front lines in terms of working with people who have to deal with the app or deal with parking tickets. And she was saying it's largely going okay. So no real update in terms of
Yeah.
how that's working, but
Does that mean less complaints?
yeah. We really hadn't had that many complaints except for social media. But that's where you do the complaining.
That's up there, it's like,
Okay, so the next item is a discussion on our unreasonable rent increase law. Thank you for coming. Great to have community engagement. 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of engagement from landlords. We want input from landlords. We want input from tenants. And I wanted to emphasize that our board drafted this unreasonable rent increase law a couple of years ago to augment the proposed good cause law. And we dusted it off because as we are initiating the emergency tenant protection, considering adopting the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, because it would not include the majority of the rental stock in our community. We thought it made sense to include this law as a possibility. So that was the impetus behind why it's being discussed now after we had discussed it 2 years ago. And we're waiting to complete collection of survey results from the folks who received surveys regarding the EPTA. Any other questions, comments from our board right now?
have we gotten surveys?
We have gotten some surveys back, but we have not had full participation. Unlike when I did a informal survey a few years ago, I was able to get every single landlord to respond to me individually.
Are you trying to follow up?
Yeah, we have been following up with everyone who has received the surveys. So any other conversations from our board?
Can you help me understand the threshold for 6 units? Because I think a few of the people that were here last time, some of the landlords were concerned about how it would affect a small landlord, the mom and pop, mom and mom sort of situation.
EPTA?
Yeah.
So the only properties that are considered are those with 6 or more units constructed before 1972.
Right. So is There's no
What's that?
way of
Isn't that like 6 complexes or
I
something?
think it's 15.
Like
15, I'm
small
sorry.
amount, yeah.
Right, so that's why we dusted off the URI.
Yeah, is there any way of protecting those somewhere or helping those in a smaller situation, not corporate situations? That's a question.
Yeah, I think our answer was to propose
Right.
the unreasonable rent increase law to augment E EPTA. No other comments, questions? So we continue to have the public hearing open. And any additional feedback from the community is welcome by email at the upcoming meeting. You know, this is our board tends to err on the side of keeping public hearings open longer because we want input. Like our public hearings are not to just move forward without hearing from our constituents. Okay, so I'm gonna jump ahead to item number 4 on our business agenda. So we have super exciting news. This is a project that has been in the work for several years. So we drilled wells, groundwater wells up at the Mountain Rest water treatment plant property. So 4 of those were tested for quality and yield. And our plan is to connect them to that treatment plant property. And then we also drilled 2 wells in the Memorial Pool Park property, and they also were favorable for quality and yield. So we have a total of 6 wells. We now have bid documents that we are making public via the action I'm going to propose we take now so that contractors can bid on each of these projects. And I think it's also interesting to note that we will be hosting a pre-bid conference on Friday, November 17th at 11 a.m. up at the treatment plant property at 200 Mountain Rest Road. But this is fairly standard stuff, but I think it's important that it's on our business agenda and not just our consent agenda, because we want to relay to the community that this project that we've been working on for several years is finally taking next steps. And our goal here has been to purchase less of the very expensive water that we buy from the New York City DEP. If we're able to connect these 6 wells, the anticipation is that these will account for about 1/3 of all of the water that is consumed in our community. Because currently, depending on precipitation, we will purchase 60% of all of our water consumed from the New York City DEP. So this would help significantly to reduce that number from 60%. So I move that we announce the bid docs for these 2 well projects.
Second.
Any further comments, questions? All in favor? Next item, I move that we adopt resolution regarding bills and claims. All in favor? And any planning board liaison update? We have an exciting meeting planned for tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, yes. I think the top thing, well, they're both serious things. The senior citizen residential development on 54 South Manheim, that's up for review, as well as the public hearing opened for the New Paltz Apartments proposal that's been talked about for quite a number of years. We met, the Ulster County Planning Board met last Wednesday. There were no referrals from the village of New Paltz.
Got it. And there's no ZBA liaison update to share. Okay. Did anyone who arrived late, if you're interested in making a public comment, I don't know, Professor Steve, we'd love to hear from you.
Tell me where to be here.
Sit at the table.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It is actually wonderful to be here. I am ashamed to say that this is my first village board meeting after actually living here for some years and working here. Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. My name is Stephen Campanella. I'm a professor of political science here at the college. I used to live in New Paltz for some years. Currently live in the city of Newburgh. I cannot live in New Paltz nor Ulster County because I have been priced out of living, given the housing expenses in this area. I'm here to speak in support of the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which would regulate rents on buildings of 6 units or more built after 1974. As someone who currently is dealing with housing difficulties and the expenses there, I know also that many of my students are dealing with the same kind of problem. I do make a salary, whatever it is, it certainly isn't good enough. I cannot even imagine, though, being a young person here without a full-time job and a professional kind of position with a professional salary trying to pay for housing. It is something that is astounding to me. My guess, and based also on conversations with my own students, is that the only way they can be here is by going into debt. Debt that is crushing for their own futures, for their own economic sustainability in the future, for their own personal finances. I know this personally because I still have $35,000 of student loan debt that I am struggling to pay off. I don't want them to go into more debt to be here, to sit in my class, to come to this community and be a part of our community and contribute to our community. They should be able to live here in an affordable way that does not basically ruin their financial futures. To have the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which would regulate rents on buildings such as in Southside, New Paltz Commons, would go a long way. It's not the only thing that would solve the housing problem here, but it's something that would help ensure there is more affordable housing. And so I very much urge the village board to activate the Emergency Tenant Protection Act by declaring a housing emergency, creating a rent guidelines board. I realize there's some kind of procedural issues regarding whether it would be solely cited here in the village or whether it would be part of, let's say, Ulster County writ large, because there's one in Kingston already. Despite those difficulties, that's something we can figure out. And I think it would be better and beneficial for the tenants of both this village and also for Ulster County writ large. So given those issues, I urge the council, once the vacancy study is completed, I realize you have to go through that, dot your I's, cross your T's, and ensure that there are no legal liabilities in terms of how to declare that housing emergency. I urge the village board to make the declaration and activate ETPA.
So the conversations that I've had with HCR is that the way it would be handled is the existing board would just be expanded from Kingston, so just be a county board.
Yes, I've heard something similar.
Yeah.
That would be great. I think that'd be wonderful. And it would actually show, I think, the commitment of local governments here in Ulster County to tenant rights and affordable housing, especially if multiple communities, multiple municipalities were engaging in this kind of action. So perhaps it's actually easier than I thought. And if so, I double my urgency for the council, for the village board to do this. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
Hi. My name is Ren Kingsley. I'm a student at New Paltz and involved in lots of different things, but I've lived in the village of New Paltz for the past 4 years. When I first moved in, I lived in an apartment of 6 people on Grove Street, and I paid about $500 a month for rent, everything included. And 3 years later, I pay $775 a month, plus then a couple of extra $2,000 for the year of like utilities, plus then Wi-Fi rates are increasing like crazy. And as the years have gone on, my tuition and like the financial aid that I get from the college has diminished as the years have gone on. So when I started college, I was like, this is like super sustainable. Like I'm like totally can afford living. I got money back from college. I was thriving. It was great. And then every year after that, it was like, oh my God, it's like just a little bit more expensive, just a little bit more expensive. And I work over summer to like pay for my experiences and my tuition and my housing and stuff like that. So summer is all about saving for the year to come. And every year is like unforeseen increases to the cost of living and then the cost of tuition and the decreasing of financial aid. And so all of that coupled together, it just makes it very challenging to financially plan for the coming year. And part of that has been the crazy increases of rents in the village. If I'm looking at a house, my friends live there now, and they're like, oh, we only pay $725, or $625, even for our housing. So you could come and pay $625. I'm like, oh, that would be great, like awesome. And then I go and I'm talking with the landlord, and it's like, oh yes, it's gonna be $750. I'm like, that's not what the current tenants are paying. Like, why are you like, it's just, oh, rent increases when the roof is leaking and the like you're still paying for like propane gas and all of these really old appliances. And so if the rent is going to go up, my only ask is that there's some plan for putting solar panels on the roof, or like making the house more eco-friendly, more electrification. And I know that the IRA doesn't currently have, doesn't support landlords in transitioning their units to be more green and stuff like that. And there's a huge need, I think, for legislation that would support tenants' rights and cap rent increases and just support students and people living in the village. So I would urge you to, declare a housing crisis and listen to everybody here who is, dealing with the realities of what it's like to live in the village these days. And it's gone up a lot, and I really hope it doesn't keep going up. So thanks.
Welcome.
All right. So I know you all are wondering what my name is. I'm Ethan Callender. I am a student at SUNY New Paltz, even though I actually live in New Jersey. And I actually do not have a personal housing story to say here. Rather, I want to express how I feel about the fact that these rent increases are occurring in a village where many people are already struggling to make ends meet. Think about it for a second. A significant portion of this village, I mean to say, already lies below the federal poverty line, if I'm not mistaken. And what that essentially, what I mean to say is, this act is essential, the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, because people that can't make ends meet right now would now be able to have at least some semblance of a possibility of making ends meet and a shot at a better tomorrow. And then there's the students who are paying tens of thousands just to go to the college over here already. And then they have to pay thousands more to live off campus. It's kind of a grift, if I'm being honest, to a certain extent. And this needs to be addressed any way possible. Thank you for your time, and I hope we can get this going.
Anybody else? Okay, we don't have anything left on our agenda. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.